Throughout history we have seen the image of dragons as ferocious beasts. However, the people of China see them as more wise and friendly creatures. This story is based on the experience of the poor workers of Shilin, the stone forest, a region of China. The Dragon of Shilin. My Lin was the daughter of a farmer. She worked hard in the fields along with her family and the others in her village. During the day the sun was so bright that you could not see without shading your eyes. The poor farmers worked hard in the hot sun with little shelter and even less water. They often wondered how they must have offended the gods to be punished in this way. Sometimes the workers tied bamboo poles together to construct rough sunshades. Even though there was some shelter, it could not cool down the intense heat in the surrounding air. The tall rocks reflected the heat and made the air dry. Once the sun had fallen behind the distant mountains, the air cooled very quickly. In fact, the nights were very cold. Mai Lin slept in a bamboo house, which allowed the night air to drift in as she lay shivering under a thin, coarse sheet. It was very difficult to sleep in these conditions. There seemed to be no time, day or night, when a person could feel comfortable. One night a great shock awaited the people of Shilin. As they lay in their beds, the night was suddenly disturbed by a roaring sound, much louder than the thunder that rolled across the mountains. Soon after, the thunderous noise was joined by a rumbling that appeared to come from beneath the ground. The earth shook, the flimsy bamboo homes quivered, and pots and pans fell noisily from the shelves. Next morning the people wandered about trying to repair the damage. The noise had now gone, and the people were silenced by the shock of the night before. Suddenly the stillness was broken by a loud, frightened cry. One of the children was pointing towards the mountains. Just beyond a ridge of hills nearby rose a plume of dark smoke. Some people began to panic. Was this the beginning of a volcano which would burst onto their village and drown it in fiery lava? Nobody seemed to know what to do, until Mai Lin spoke up. "It's no good panicking," she said. "Some of us go to the mountain and find out what has happened, and see what we can do to avoid the destruction of our village." Led by the brave young woman, they picked their way through the maze of rocks, and then began the difficult task of scaling the steep slopes leading to the ridge. Finally they reached the top, and slowly peeped over the edge of the ridge. What they saw in front of them froze them in fear. The ridge sloped down into a shallow crater, in which lay a pool of thick reddish mud. If this had been a volcano, the mud would have been a boiling mass of lava. Stretched out across the rocks was a huge dragon. The sun glistened across its scaly body as it rested. Huge wings quivered softly, and its long tail coiled around a large rock. As it breathed in and out, a rumbling sound came from deep inside its body, and small colourful flames licked around its jaws and nostrils. Mai Lin suggested that they wait for the beast to fall asleep before they tried to tackle it. Soon the creature was dozing, and they waded across the muddy pool to reach it. Soon each one of the villagers was covered in thick mud. They realized too late that they were unable to move swiftly, covered by this sticky mess. The great beast began to stir. Just in time, Mai Lin spied a small cave close by the dragon's head, and they struggled to get into it before the dragon discovered them. They were so covered in mud that even the sharpest sense of smell could not detect their human odour. As the dragon awoke, it gave a loud snort, and flames shot from its mouth straight into the mouth of the cave. The intense heat turned the cave into an oven, and had they not been covered by thick mud, the villagers would have been burnt to a shrivel. Fortunately, only the outer surface of the mud was baked, the inner layers keeping their bodies cool. Mylin's scream surprised the dragon, which stepped away from the cave, saving the folk inside from a hard-boiled end. After a while the cave cooled, and the villagers discovered that they could easily slip out from the soft bases of their shells. They were amazed that they were now looking at their own shapes made from an earthenware pottery. They crept to the mouth of the cave, hoping that the dragon had gone. To their shock, it was still there, looking at them in a quizzical way. Just as they thought the dragon was about to attack, it flapped its huge wings and flew off into the distance. Fearing the dragon's return, the group returned to the village as quickly as possible. They realized now that the rumbling had probably been caused by the dragon trying to make itself comfortable when it landed high on the ridge. That night there were no more rumbles, and the next morning the villagers returned to their work once more in the heat of the sun. It was then that something strange but wonderful happened. At first nobody noticed, but then they could not help but feel a gentle cooling breeze which swept across the fields as they worked. And then a shadow fell across the sun, weakening its powerful rays. When the people looked up, they were horrified, and then amazed. The dragon had returned, and was circling above them, its great wings causing the breeze they had only dreamt of. The dragon continued to circle all day long. When night came and the villagers climbed into their coal beds, it lay asleep on the edge of the village. As the dragon slept, its fiery breath sent a warm draught of air through the flimsy bamboo dwellings, bathing the sleeping peasants in warmth. Soon greater wealth and happiness came to the village, as dragon and farmer worked together in trust. Each year that special day was marked by a parade around the fields in honor of the Dragon of Shilin.